I bring up the like-minded type of people we hang around with, because, not only are we baseball guys, but how we think politically, and over the last 4 years, we've seen, and I think that's why we've had such an influx of people move down here, because we've seen such nonsense around our country. You kind of agree with that?
Well, for a few year period there, during COVID, I was getting a phone call every week from somebody in Vermont, somebody in PA, somebody in Colorado, thinking about making a move. Son's in high school, daughter's in grade school, everything's shut down. We know things are going on down there.
Yeah.
We just want to get our kids back. Can you tell me about the baseball scene in your area? And I'd have that conversation at least once a week for 2 years, and sometimes, multiple times. And it's kind of the same spiel, but it was coming from, I said, where are you calling from? New Hampshire,
Right.
Vermont, and yeah, the one that stuck with me, and I got off the phone with him, and he was a super nice guy, and I don't know if he ever moved down here or not. He might have moved somewhere around here. But I'd said to Dana, I said, if this doesn't wake you up, he goes, hey, I'm calling, same spiel. And he goes, I just can't do another day. Kid 4 houses down, hung himself yesterday, and we're done with this. They'd been tied up for 8 months, and kid didn't have whatever his outlet was that allowed that to, and I said, these parents they're starting to understand that, like, look, man, I've got to see people. Right. I've got to be able to be in front of them and human touch and socialize, and that's as healthy as anything.
Yeah.
At least mentally, and we don't know what anybody's going through.
Right. The mentally, forget it. Like, I mean, here's the one thing I did remember when I was living when the whole thing happened in Puerto Rico. And we talked about this, being up north. And those days that are gray, they last for ever. Like, it's the whole winter. And that shit's real, like the depression. Then add on the fact that you can't even go out of your house. Like, technically, you wasn't able to go out of your house, and like you were afraid to. How about when they put everybody in these ridiculous groups that you were only able, because if you did get the shot, you were good, and if you didn't, you were like ostracized, and like. I mean, talk about, but that didn't really happen down here.
No. Down here, I mean, we were as open as any state, and
people were living their lives.
And I think, mathematically, I think, through it all, I think we fared really well down here. But at the same time to it, though, just some of the stuff, just common sense. I'm such a common sense guy. Like, I can't speak in huge vernacular on a lot of this stuff, but my buddy owns 4 bars.
Right.
He owns 4 bars in this county, but he doesn't serve food. So he's a true bar. So he was shut down for 9 months, but right across the street was a bar and grill that served food, that they were open because they served hamburgers and wings, and like that kept people from getting sick more so than my buddy who sold beer and like none of it made sense. Like, when it came to the car wash was allowed to be open, but
churches were closed.
The church, none of it made any sense to me. So you start trying to find the answers, and you can't really find the answers, but you're using your common sense, and you're like, well, someone calls me a conspiracy theorist for thinking that way. Others will say, well, I'm thinking that same way too. So, well, you just get into that mode of like, look, I can't listen to any of the media. I just got to kind of go, what feels right in my heart and my gut, and what do I feels right for my family?
And this goes back, and I brought this up because this goes back to the sports. And the thing you said, parents in America, they have FOMO. So the same thing happened in our country, except it was on the next level to scare people into believing that was okay. That's how we were supposed to live. Right. They did it already and you said, this guy over here, he's hitting ground balls to his son, and they're in the farmland, and they're doing soft toss, and they're like, but he's not playing on a travel ball team and spending $3,000. Is he the weirdo, or is he the smart one?
Right.
95% of the country went this way. Either they were forced, or they got forced into by their family, or whatever it may be, by their business, or they decided that because they got scared into it, or they wanted to travel outside the country, they got a shot. But nobody knew what was in that fucking shot.
Right.
There's a lot of people down here that didn't.
Well, that was my whole thing. It's like, I need more information, but I don't know where to get the information, because I don't know what information you guys are giving me, what to believe.
Right.
Because there was already some holes on both sides, mind you, and this is everything, and not just but there's some but I needed more time to sift through all that stuff, and the more I was sifting through it, it was making less and less sense to me, just on the common sense level.
And the more and more time that happened, the more and more down here everything got open.
So I'm not calling a play. I'm going to punt here. So I'm going to take a little bit more time. I'm going to punt. We're going to sort this out before we do anything. And then at the end of it, like, nothing for our family. No extra inoculation needed. We're just going to ride this out with, some zinc and some OJ and wash our hands.
And we'll just kind of, everybody got a little bit cleaner.
We're going to trust that we're of an age that we're healthy enough that if we get it, and we all had it, we all went on our backs for a week and we called it good.
Everybody got it. And listen, the people that had to go into the hospital and that passed, that happens a lot too with the regular flu that was called. So, the whole thing to me was just, I get so caught up in it, but it's...
You could beat this horse down the street, man. It's like, and then people were saying, well, how many of those were actually listed as cause of death or died with?
Because there was a lot of money that was exchanged through that.
Right. So now you're sitting there again, and you're just like, well, wait a second. Well, this is not American. Like, we should, and is this true? And if this is true, like, this is sick.
Yeah.
So once again, I'm going to punt.
Right. And this is why I like you so much, because this goes back to one of the reasons why you don't have travel ball. Again, you don't do it for the root of the evil part of money. You do it because you love and you want to help. And when we get past that point in life, and when you add all those things that had started this nonsense, big pharma, our government, like all those things.
There's a tip in the scale.
And it all comes down to money.
Yep.
Always.
Well, every question that we ever have in life, you're like, well, why does the NCAA do this with that? And I'm like, well, it has something to do with money. I don't know what, but it has something to do with money.
Absolutely.
Well, why do they do that at that public school? Well, it has something to do with money. Anytime you have a question, it comes back to, I don't have enough of it. It was moved someplace. We just got a ton of it. It's always about money.
Well, look at the NCAA now.
Yeah.
I mean, if we were able to do like what you could, I mean,
I don't know. Maybe at South Carolina, I could have got a couple bucks. I don't know, Ken, if I could have got a couple bucks, but look at these guys making $5 million a year. I'd stick around too, man.
Here's the thing. And here's another, and I just said this to Ty, Ty's ultimate goal wants to get drafted like you, and hopefully that happens. If it doesn't, no big deal. He's going to follow his dreams until it's just like you did. But they give you all the opportunity. So he leaves IMG, he goes to junior college. He goes to junior college say he doesn't get drafted out of junior college for 2 years, he doesn't lose any eligibility Division I for the next 4. He'll be in college until he's 28 years old. Yeah. But you know what I realized?
Doctor.
Doctor. Yeah. Doctor of baseball. That's the only doctor you're going to put in front of his name. What I realized, and again, it's because of money, and I saw what was happening, and tell me I could be wrong because you know a lot more big leaguers than I do, and a lot more minor league coaches, and the minor league system starts getting chopped down, less teams. And what happens to the bigger conferences? There's only 3 major conferences now. They're the Power 3. There's no more Power 5. Like, you got the Big Ten, the ACC, and the SEC. And the SEC, baseball-wise, is the best in the whole world. you let these kids play like they're in a controlled environment with hundreds of millions of dollars around it. Guess who's coming in right now? Private equity. Private equity doesn't make decisions like that to want to buy up just the sports. Not the university. They don't want to buy the whole university. They want to buy just the sport team.
I want the rights to everything that you do with that logo.
With that logo in sports. And I'm going to make, they already know they're going to make billions and billions. So now let's keep the kids in longer, keep the dream alive, but they get to train harder with all this instead of being in, I mean, think about some of the shitty towns you were in fucking the minor leagues, man, on a bus. Now these kids get on planes. They get to, it's a business.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Always has been.
Everything in our life. Everything in our life is about, it comes down to the money and who can capitalize on it. NCAA is the same.
Well, they're going to find themselves looking through the door like this in about 10 years because those conferences are going to go, we don't need you anymore,
Right.
NCAA.
Yeah.
We are the SEC.
Right.
We are powerful enough. We will call the national championship in baseball is going to come out of here. We don't need you to recognize anybody else other than us. And it'll be into 3, maybe 4 conferences that are just boom, and the NCAA will be a thing of the past.
And this brings me into Gino Auriemma again because I fucking love him because I saw a quick reel on him. Again, I was scrolling. I'm guilty of it on TikTok or Instagram, whatever one it was. And he said, he goes, come on, all you people. Let's be realistic. They're not student athletes anymore. They're pro athletes, basically. He goes, when we have a conference game in the middle of the week and we got to travel across the country, you think that they're really student athletes? Yeah. And now they're signing NIL deals? And he goes, I love this, the NIL deals. And I coach women's sports. It's not like the men's sports. He goes, but I love the NIL deals. And this kid gets his balls in a vice because he's not playing, but he's making $2 million a year. Like, right. And you think that these coaches today, like, sometimes I think I see why Saban stepped down. I see why these guys are leaving because who the hell wants to coach these kids? Right. Like, who wants to coach? Because the one thing I know as a player, I would have been in a lot of fucking fights in that locker room because if you were making $2 million and I was making 0 and you hit fucking 230 as my shortstop and had 5 bombs, that's not going to fly on my team. Right. Not going to fly.
Right.
But that shit goes on now.
So I means to extremes once again. Somebody was asking about it years ago, and I said, look, I think these football guys need to be paid. Now, I was thinking, like, a lot of these infractions were coming from young man's grandma died who just raised him, right?
Right.
She died. This guy's got to go to the booster to ask for a suit and a plane ticket, right? Because he don't got it.
Yeah.
Now, he's got a full ride. But he don't have any money.
Right.
So he takes $1,500 for a suit and a plane ticket to fly home to his grandmother and bury her. He gets punched by the NCAA for taking money that ain't his, and so on and so forth. It's all these infractions that are bullshit. Right.
I agree.
But that's 90% of them.
Yeah.
That's 90% of them. I said, man, if they'd take these kids and put pocket money in them, hey, pay them football players $2,000 a month. Give them their full scholarship. They got enough money to take their girlfriend out a couple times a month. They got enough money. They need that suit or that plane ticket. Like, now we went from means to extremes. I'm asking for a couple grand for these guys, and we're at like $2 million.
Yeah.
You don't need a Bentley, dude.
Right, like Deion Sanders' kid, like he needs to have a Maybach.
You don't need a Maybach.
Yeah, like what?
What have you done?
Like he's making more money than the kid Josh Purdy that was in the Super Bowl.
Right.
No, that makes no sense.
Right. So
college is not college like when we were there.
And the thing is, you've thrown so much rope out, you can't roll it back in.
No.
You've created the monster. Now it's only going to grow.
And at some point, yeah, or they have to learn how to. My buddy Jimmy brought this up because he was in college baseball for a long time, and he said to me, he goes, what they really need to do is do profit, like almost like profit sharing for everybody. So like
that's what Major League Baseball does.
Like, okay, but he went one step further, which I thought was pretty cool. You do the profit sharing so everybody's at least on that same playing field. Okay, great. Where everybody's getting something like you said, because that is deserved. Because here's the thing: if I'm the quarterback and I'm making they're signing quarterbacks for $3-4 million, and my offensive line is getting zero. If I was the offensive line, I'd be like, go ahead, sack his fucking ass. Like what? Like when do I?
There's got to be a point where we're going to see an NIL national championship and a scholarship national championship. Like a team like Kent State, right?
Yeah.
Football, right? When there's 6 games in the MAC, 7 games in the MAC every year, every once in a while they win the MAC, right? But nobody knows where Kent State's at.
Yeah.
We're not going to be able to generate any NIL money to get, right? So why should I even have to compete against those guys to get that? So how about we just do the scholarship bowl over here and we paid you to come here bowl over here. So
that actually makes sense. Than the lower D, everyone's D1, but the mid-major D1s can kind of, which I guess they're kind of trying to do now, but it's not there.
Right.
Like it's not big enough. It's not like it hasn't blown up. But I guess this has to fail very badly first, like everything else, because again, instead of having a thought process and putting parameters in place, it's just like the old Wild Wild West.
Right.
And that's where we're at right now. And if I'm Ty and I can capitalize on that and then stay in college until in a controlled environment, like you said it best. You said it best about Pro Bowl. You would have never been ready out of high school to go to Pro Bowl. You would have got eaten up. Like those Dominicans or Venezuelan kids, they would have ate you up because
they were ready, dude.
They were ready.
They're hungry. They've
been waiting to get off the island. Like they would have, and
they were ready at 16.
That's what I said. Like
I was
they're ready
behind.
Same, but we were raised in a family where we were nurtured. So you needed that little bit of we're gonna spread you wings a little bit more, but it's in a controlled environment, right? Now you're becoming a man.
Right.
Those kids were fighting for their lives.
Right.
Big difference.
Right.
And I had that conversation with my wife this morning. I go, no, babe, you don't understand. Like those kids are they're getting rocks.
This is my better way of life, and my chance for a better way of life.
And even getting to minor leagues is 100 times better than what they were living. So the kids that we have, that we baby, and they think they get 5 bats and the gloves and the thing, they would get. I used to tell parents this many years ago when I was coaching. You think your kid's gonna get drafted out of high school and be able to? They don't even laundry. Like you're on your own here. And you're 16 years old. Your mother's not going to come down and do all your laundry. And this is how life works.
She's not going to go talk to the coach when you got the sniffles.
Right. And you
Billy might not be feeling so good today.
Yeah. Or like,
why
aren't I playing?
We're practicing. So.
Yeah, we're still going to practice. And your arm's a little sore. You're going to fucking play. Like or you don't. And the other 6 guys in front of you are going to. And that's the world we live in today.
It's a trickle-down economics. You can't do it. Somebody else can, buddy.
Yeah.
So you can be honest with me. Are you hurt or are you injured?
Right.
Well, if you're injured, we know where you go. You go to the doctor. Right. If you're hurt, you just shut up. You don't tell anybody you're hurt.
Exactly. I don't know. In today's world, I don't even know if I guess, I don't know. I'm not in that world of the highest level of college sports. I think that still goes on. But when we were kids, there was no, you didn't go to the doctor unless something was broken. Right. Or your arm was literally falling off like yours was.
You got methylate and Bactine sprayed on you and you thought your mom was a witch. You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't bring the methylate out. Not the orange, not the mercurochrome. No.
No, I know.
Well, we grew up tougher because we had that shit. Yeah. Now they get Snoopy Band-Aids when they get rug burn when they trip on the carpet over here.
It's the truth. It's the truth. We do things differently now. So, but again, that goes back to they play games all their life. That's all they do is play games, and then they don't get better, and they want to know why. Because the other countries are practicing.
Here's a question for you. It's on topic, slightly off. I've had this with my wife a couple times, and a couple times I throw it out there. And we've talked about kids and family a lot, maybe not on camera here, but in sports. And so generationally, like I look back at the way like my father grew up, raised by a single mom. You know, my mom, both parental units intact. growing up during World War II. Their family's going to try to give them a little bit more than they had, right? So here comes my parents. They're going to try to give me and my sisters a little bit more than they had. Here comes my guy. I'm going to try. So I talk about like, where's the tipping point? I'm always the tipping point guy. I'm like, okay, so they're giving, right? And they're giving more. So when's that point? Have we passed it? Is it coming, or has it been behind us that we've tipped so far that we've given them too much?
Oh, we've tipped.
To go, all right, dude, you're gonna have to. So it's our generation, and
we've
that's what
given
I was
too much.
Kind of getting to.
Right, we've given too much to make them softer than what they are.
Right.
And now I'm not. But listen, my kids grew up in a very, very nice house in New Jersey, very expensive area. That they all had. And now, did they have the best cars? No, because I wouldn't allow that. Right. But like, did kids having their Mercedes and yeah.
Right. And I'm not
judging.
And I'm not just talking about monetarily or stuff wise. I'm talking about, okay, I'm going to give you more. I'd be dipped in shit if my father ever went in and talked to one of my coaches growing up, God. Ever. It's like, oh, maybe he should have played more, or maybe you got this guy. Like, there were no parents around at any practices from the time I was a little leaguer to I graduated high school. Like, there was nothing in college. I get stories now from buddies of mine that are college coaches. Like, they're getting phone calls from parents like going, hey, I'm thinking about driving to the away game, wanting to know if little Billy's going to play. Like, that's not even a phone call you make. So I'm wondering, like, where's the tipping point? Like, when do we let these guys be people that we allow to grow up a little bit?
I don't know. I think the tipping point's already past us, so we're in a fucking.
Or are they going to be living in our basement when they're 40? You know?
Yeah.
I always say that's the guy that ranks the 9U teams. They're like, oh, we played the number 2 9U team in the country. I say, is there some fat 50-year-old in his underwear in his mom's basement that ranks like these like?
Yep.
How do they even know you have a team?
Seriously.
Right?
Well, it's funny because
we're number 3 and that team out of Texas is number 2. I'm like, how do you fucking know?
Yeah, how do you know?
And why do I care?
Right. Again, it's true. Like I see it now on the weekends, and I'm like, I look at them and I go, oh, okay, thank you, and I put my earbuds back in. Yeah. I do, and I go watch. I just want to watch my son play, and it's funny because you know what's so crazy, just like you did with your son. My dad watched every game down the right. Watched a football game in the end zone. Never sat with. No, did a handful of his buddies come, of course, because they all. Every college baseball game down the right field line with his buddies. High school basketball, top left-hand corner, away from everybody. Right. You know what? I'm 52 years old. Every game I've ever watched, I did the same exact thing. Because as soon as I get close to the dugout or the stands or to the end zone, like, I don't want to hear.
You start hearing the noise.
The nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
it's noise.
It's noise.
Yeah. And it's noise to everybody, not just somebody that understands. It's noise to the kids that hear it because they pick up on it. And then they start acting that way. And then there's no accountability because they hear mom and dad talking about how bad the umpire is in the stands. I mean, so they're not allowed to be accountable anymore.
Think about like what we went through when we were kids. If our parents ever like said anything to anybody, it was like, what the fuck? Like now, free reign to say, yell at the umpire, scream, and like.
Yeah, incite a riot. How many reels do you see of like youth soccer game, youth baseball game, parents out on the field throwing haymakers at refs?
Wait. We were just in a tournament, you know, right before Christmas. It was our last one. It was this team that he plays with actually, Ian Snell coaches it. So he's a great guy. He's been on my show. It doesn't cost a lot of money. I love it. We play like every other weekend. We play 6 or 7 tournaments, not 54. We don't, so it's very controlled. I love it. And I love the fact that the kids are building some kind of camaraderie. He's never if we get 1 or 2 new kids, it's because somebody else dropped off, not because he's trying to build this enormous program. So I love that part about Ohana. and we were just in a tournament, the last one, and I was talking to the tournament director because it happened to be hot out, so I was sitting underneath the canopy behind home plate. I won't go near the stands, and one of my buddies was sitting with me, and the tournament director heard me say, and I'm like, I usually watch the game in right field, but it's so sunny out, and he started laughing. I go, and he's like getting the plastic rings ready because it's Sunday, right? And I go, and by the way, does it really fucking matter about, he goes, it's really nice to hear somebody like yourself. I said, I'm old now, dude. I go, he's number 5 in my life. Like, so I've been around this a long time. And he started laughing. He had his Christmas hat on, you know, like the elf's hat. And he goes, you're not going to believe, see those 2 teams over there? He went like that. He goes, 8U, fist fight in the parking lot yesterday. I go, what?
Doesn't surprise me.
No, fist fight. He goes, I had to have the cops here in the morning because there's a chance that they may play each other again. And like, 8U.
My old partner, Coach Scott, this is fucking 18, 19 years ago, and we were bitching about 10U baseball starting down here. 10U, right? 10U. So now it's 8s. He goes, man, for too long it's going to be squeaky bass league. I said, what's squeaky bass league? He goes, you know that one where it's like a mommy and me class where the bass squeaks when they jump on it at like 2? I'm like, oh, yeah. Well, we're not too far away from getting into the squeaky bass league.
It's coming.
3 and under. $1,500 a spring. Come on, you can play with me. We'll teach you from the best. We're all trained professionals. Yeah. Well, your son still believes in Santa.
Right.
So let's keep this all in perspective. So until he doesn't believe that the Tooth Fairy puts money under his, let's just keep it in perspective that your team can't run a well-run double cut.
Right.
Like they're 9, dude.
Yeah. I say that all the time. Coaches like, you coach third base and you just wheel everybody. I'm like, in Little League, at 13 years old, I'll wheel everybody because you know what they have to do? Make 2 perfect throws. High school teams can't do that. Do I score a lot of times? Yeah. Do I get thrown out once in a while? Yeah, it happens. It's baseball. But my odds are better where I am now because, and by the way, like you said, they don't practice double cuts and cuts. Like, never mind Little League. Right. What do they do at Little League? They take ground balls. They all take batting practice.
They get their 6 swings.
They get their 6, and they
shag that fly ball that guy hit, and they get their juice box, and they go home. They're little Swedish fish or animals. Well, got to have a snack these days.
Got to have a snack.
Because if you don't have a snack, you're the worst coach in the world, or the den mother, or whoever.
Yeah. Oh my God.
I got in trouble that year. It was my turn to bring snacks for Casey's. Dana was traveling for work, and it was my turn to bring snacks for his stupid ass game, whatever it was, T-ball, I don't know. And I didn't bring it. I said, there's a concession stand over there. You guys go eat. Like, we don't bring juice boxes. Like, nah, we're good. Rose family's good. We don't do that.
We don't do that. Yeah, they probably looked at you like you had like 6 heads.
Well, they did.
Yeah. But that's the
also got in trouble for kid was rounding third after he'd hit a home run. I helped coach Casey's 11-year team. Kid hit a home run. I was coaching third because the head coach, and I gave the kid pass on the butt. Oh no, that was bad. You can't do that these days.
No.
You know, high five and a boom.
Yeah.
Mom was like, to the president.
No.
And I was, and the president knew me, and like, she's like, I just have to tell you. I was like, all right, hands in the pocket rest of the year, man. I'm not even because that first thing I'm going to do, good play. It's like, boom, good job, buddy.
That's all part of baseball.
Nope. Mom didn't like you.
Yeah.
Yep. So, this was like 10, 11 years ago, 12 years ago.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Which is because it's even worse now. It's even worse now. Well, we covered a lot today.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. 2/3 of the world's covered by water. We covered the other third.
Yep, I think we did. I got to thank you for doing this. This was
my pleasure.
Wait, before we finish, how many guys? Because you're so modest about, like, you know, you said to me off air, like, and I want people to understand that, like, he is one of the modest. Like, he's the most humble guy I've met, and which makes him even cooler. And that's another reason why I say, like, you know, he could have 50 teams if he wanted. But you just said to me off air, you're like, yeah, and by the way, my shortstop at South Carolina is the bench coach for
the Royals. Yeah, he was my shortstop at Kent.
Oh, at Kent, and then the manager of the Royals you play with in the Cape. He's one of your closest friends. How many guys like that do you know through baseball? Like, I mean, you have other guys that are in the big leagues right now that you know?
Um, coaching wise, yeah, first base coach for the Blue Jays, Mark Budzinski. He was with us up in the Cape. Um, he's really good friends with Sean Casey, who they went to school together at University of Richmond. Um, big league level. I don't know if there's any more that are coaching at the big league. I mean, there's a lot at the minor league levels that guys that were, former players of that are still riding the buses. Like, I couldn't do that. A couple opportunities when I retired to do it, and I'm like, I'm not getting back on the old iron lung, man, unless I'm playing. I'm not doing it. I'm not leaving my family.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Quite a few of them. It was funny. I really, my all-time favorite manager of all time was Phil Wellman. I had him in '99 in Double-A, and I had a lot of great managers, but Phil was he was a player's manager.
Yeah.
And he just called last week. He just took a job with the Pirates and called me out of the blue and was looking. He's like, you know anybody? Like, the Pirates are the only organization I've ever been with that they don't rent, like, they don't get like housing for the coaches or put them up somewhere. He's like, we get a stipend and we're on our own. And he goes, I just signed with them, like literally just signed with them. So I'm kind of behind the 8 ball. I got to be there February 15th. Yeah. So I put a couple feelers out, and Greg put a couple feelers out. He ended up finding a place actually just up the street. But I mean, this guy was my manager. This is 1999. I mean, this is 25 years ago.
So you're going to see him.
Phil Wellman.
Will you go see him a bunch of times?
Yeah. And great guy.
You got to let me know if you don't mind. I'd love to come in and to meet him and talk.
Yeah. You ever want to? He'll pop up on your YouTube if you put Phil Wellman ejection in. Oh. It is the greatest ejection of all time. You've seen it.
I definitely.
You just didn't know it was Phil.
Him. Yeah.
Minor league in it was 05 or 06. The video was. He was crawling behind the mound, grabbed the rosin bag
and threw it. Oh yeah, your
grenade took both third base and second base. Like, his ejection took 7 or 8 minutes.
Yeah,
he got his money's worth. That was Phil.
That was Phil.
He's awesome.
Dinner on me. I gotta meet this guy. I gotta meet him.
Phil's a good dude, man.
Yeah, that would be fun.
But his kids are all married and have kids now, and I remember they were 5 and 6 when I knew them. So
that's crazy, and he's still kicking it.
Yeah, he's got a couple more years before he turns 62 and can start suckling from the government's teat.
Yeah, I mean, at some point. Good for him. All right, my man. I just again, thank you so much for today. No, I appreciate you. That was awesome. We'll do it again.
Yeah.
We'll do it again. Guys, thank you so much for listening. This was a fantastic episode, and look forward to doing it again. Please continue to follow on all our social media pages. And, obviously, our motto. We want to continually go out and help other people and try not to be so selfish in our own world because I think we have too much of that going on. So God bless and have a great rest of the week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.